All right. Well, it looks like I am live to nobody, which is fine. Maybe we get started. So, let's introduce the channel. Um, my idea is that there's a lot of boot camp programs out there. There's a lot of programs that say, hey, in 6 weeks, we can take you from zero to having a job and being able to make money. I don't know if any of that's true. Um, Typically what I see is it takes years and years to really get good at it. Um, you're not going to be good in 6 weeks. And even if you're capable of getting a job in 6 weeks, you're still going to be way far behind other people working that job. And so you need to start playing catch up. Now, a lot of higher up developers don't really have the time or energy to want to train people that have only been there for 6 weeks. So my idea is that we're going to focus on people that have a fundamental knowledge in programming, but need to take it to that next level. There's not a lot out there. It's like, how do you build a class? How do you save an item to a database? It's very simple stuff, but it's not like, how do you ask the right questions? That's really what it is. You're going to get a senior dev, and he's going to say, when you build a page for me. When you add this field to this page, I want you to put this class in there always. And you're not going to know why you're doing it. You're just going to do it because he told you to. And then you're going to get to a point to where you did it. He says, "Why did you do that?" You said, "You told me to." And then he's going to say, "Well, not always. You need to use common sense." So hopefully this channel will help teach you some common sense. Hopefully somebody looks at this after it's posted. So I have a GitHub repo that I opened up. Let me show you here. All right, we've got a GitHub Code Your Passion and CSS No Framework. That's what this is. Everything I do will be on github.com Code Your Passion. Now, this project here, I love Blazor. Blazor server is great because you can basically say create project and press play. There's very few. YouTube's not receiving data. Am I not online? YouTube streaming health is good. Huh, keep that over here. That was strange. So you can basically just create a project and press play, and you've got a template to start working with. YouTube or Blazor server is the easiest for that. Can't use Blazor server for everything. Blazor server is good for applications that are going to support less than 500 users. So it's good for templating though. It's very good for templating. Right now, I did a picture. This is the settings for creating the Blazor server project right here. Nothing's crazy. I just changed interactive render mode to server and include sample pages, and then it's just a .NET 8.0. I don't do pre-release. I don't do pre-release because it could get buggy. It's just why learn something that's going to change? It's not necessarily that, right? I'm not in the industry to test new products. I got to kind of work with products that are in production ready states. So This is the base template. I have not changed a single bit of code. I just created it and then I pushed the base template to GitHub. That's it. That's the starting point. Right here, you'll notice that we got a funny line in here. It says there's a style sheet reference. And if you look in your style sheets, it's not there. I don't like a line this big. This says app CSS. Blazor automatically gave us some Bootstrap. And if you look here, Bootstrap has some overrides right here. So instead of using this long styles.css, we're going to create a new CSS. And we're just going to call this, that's app CSS. We're going to call this just site CSS. All right, and in our app Razor, where we have this, we're just going to rename this to site CSS. So in site CSS, what are we going to do? I grabbed a few examples right here. We've got Untuck It. We've got Pink, and we've got Old Navy. All three of these sites, if you look at them, they're very much a spa style web page, single page application, right? This just this long, narrow scroller. You know, it's got the padding on the right and the left, and if you notice, old style applications or web pages did not have that. And the reason for that is because they did not consider displaying it in mobile. So if we inspect, turn it on to a mobile 14 Pro Max, this is what it would look like. That doesn't look good. But that's what Old Navy looks like that. Come over here, we could do the same. Let's reload it. There we go. That's the problem. So we'll turn it back. This is how you build it out. Oh, look at that. The resolution's even worse now. So clearly everything wants it to be containerized, right? If you were thinking about it in terms of CSS, you'd call it a container. Let's press play here. The starting page is home. Home. Interesting. This is what I've got. Huh. Don't I look silly? It's not fun. Oh, you know what? I don't know where that was, but we'll go ahead and just add new line. That must be what the problem was. Okay, it works now. I don't know where that line of code is, but that's where it is. All right, so we got this. So we look into this hello world in the home. We don't need to touch that one anymore. CSS will keep over here. All right, so welcome to your new app. Come over here, I'll show you again. All right. Hello world, welcome to your new app. It's all top left. Now I said that we were not going to do a framework. We're not going to do a framework, but I'm just going to show you. Add a class, class equals container. I can type. It's containerized. If it was really long, you could see that it would go from here to about here. Um, that is how most applications run, is just with this container class. Um, how do they do that? You know, you need to learn to start doing it yourself. So we're going to say, what are we going to call this? We're going to call it CYP container. We're going to do it like that. So periods, that is, hold on. All right. I am a dad of two who's got basically two jobs, and I have hobbies and a family, so this is tough sometimes. So we're gonna code your passion container. Everything's gonna be right there, right? There's multiple ways to add padding or that area, right? There's a one line way, there's a two line way. That is a fallacy in development, right? Is that there is a way to do it. And there's always many ways to do it. It's what's the best way for your current, do you know how long it'll take? I mean, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a padding. I'm going to start with the padding. Padding left. Let's talk about padding for a second, right? You can do padding left. Let's say 25%. Padding right, 25%. Padding top, 5%. Padding bottom, let's say 8%, right? If we do that, we're going to say that we're going to CYP dash container. It IntelliSense now. Let's see what we got. Didn't work. It doesn't like percentages because it's percentage of what? There is no parent container that gives it any limits. Um, so now if I actually specified padding, now I'm mixing up margins and paddings. That's what the problem is. So margin is inside of itself. Padding is out. No, margin is outside of itself. Padding is inside of itself. That's what it is. See? So if we added, let's say 100 px, 100 px, 20 px, 40 px. this guy. I don't know why this isn't working. CYP container. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does. And is this where I do the margin, right? I feel like Blazor has changed in such a way that you literally have to stop it and restart it. Yeah, that's what the problem is. It's working. You can't do those hot reloads anymore. Okay, so there's the margins. Let's say I go back to 25%. Stop it, start it. Okay, it was working the entire time. Okay, this is bright. So this works, but it's not quite efficient. Oops, because you can say margin, and then if you look at this, you always get this IntelliSense, top, right, bottom, left. That's the order, right? So top, I want 5% on top. Right, let's go 20%. 25% was too much. Bottom, we said 8%, and then, oh, I don't need commas. I don't know what I'm doing here. 20% for left. So that's with the margin. Add this back. There we go. We don't need all that margin at the top. We're going to go 0. No, we're going to go, we're going to mix this. We're going to mix this up. I don't know what my hands are doing right now. Better. So that is more or less a container. That's it. We can do more with it, but typically it's just applying that margin. Uh, what else did we see here? All right, we're not going to worry about the menu right now. It can get quite overwhelming. Got rows and columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see here. All right, let's consider that. Rows and columns. All right, so in here, let's just make this a div. We're going to put this inside there. All right, and just going to leave that. Our div right here, I'm going to say class equals row, and then div class equals column. Well, I'm not doing great here. We're going to say column, column, and column. And we're going to do this twice. So let's stop it, start it. There we go. We got 2 rows with 3 columns, which is exactly what we're expecting to get. But how do they do this? Well, there's, again, multiple ways. How Bootstrap does it, I don't quite know. I can guess, and this is what we're going to try to do again, right? So row, the simplest way, display flex. And so we're going to say CYP-row. This isn't doing anything because I haven't saved the CSS yet. CYP-row. And let's see if that still works. Look at that, it's still the same. I honestly have no clue how column works. There's, because I'm trying to think it out. Typically, you could get rid of the column, like a simple way, right? Okay, so we're doing a flex on it. Let's take these classes out. Let's work with the bottom column with, let's just add justify content between. Yeah, that's not the same because the space goes to the beginning of it. This is equal. So this div, all right, we'll look at the inspector. I'm gonna bring this over. Now we've got the inspector, right? So let's inspect this guy right here. Okay, so styles right here. Column flex grow is true. Oh, so it's flex grow. That's it, huh? Interesting. CYP call flex grow 1. This isn't supposed to be mind-blowing. This isn't supposed to make your mind, oh my God, I'm learning so much. It's supposed to help reinforce the fundamentals. See, somebody joined me. I don't even know how to see that. I'm new. Wish I could see who's in here. Participants. That says just me. I don't know. Anyways, let's see if it worked. Just add the flex grow. There we go. That is what it is. So instead of coming up with our own rewrite of Bootstrap classes, we could start to think about how we want to do it, right? They have their cards. How do we want a card to look? CYP card. Typically you'll put a border on it. You'll say, and this, you always got to look at this, right? It gives you good advice. Always read the little things that pop up. We want, let's say 2 pixels, solid, and RGBA. This might feel overwhelming to some people, but you just got to think about it as like just R is red, G is green, blue is blue, or B is blue, and A is alpha. So 255, 00, I think now this one has, yeah, commas, 0, 0, let's say point 0.3, that's going to be a translucent red. Two px, okay. And then say the cards, they always want a padding on it, right? So we're just going to do a padding of 0.25 REM. I didn't close this out up here. You start to think about it, red and green turn to yellow, if I remember right. So let's say we want a yellow border, and we're just gonna make it a little bit more subtle. And we're going to make this full blown, that's the color. Oh, yep, I think we got it there. And so we're actually going to put these rows inside of this card. Class equals CYP card. See what we got here. We got a border, but I don't like it. Let's give ourselves a border radius. We're gonna say 8 pixels. I like the round curve, right? Now we want a box shadow. Gonna do a RGBA 0.4, which is black, right? And then you got the offsets and then the size offset. I always mix them up. Let's say 5px. This is the size, and then this is the offset, I believe. All right. So now we've got a card that sticks up and has a shadow. But let's do it more. 3px. There. Now we get, instead of it being that solid color, now it has the hazy, like it's a true shadow. See, just by, again, I'm not the most knowledgeable on everything CSS, but you got to learn enough to get through it. So that would be the card, just a base card box. We can keep going with it. We can say that a card's, say, background color. We can do an off-white RGBA. You know what? This is the same as RGB, except instead of 255, 0 through 255, you have hex numbers. So the first number, right? This is red. So if I did this, that's red. It's not going to give me that. If I, so it's red. Almost wish I could just do always on top with that guy. If I did this, it would be purple because that's 255 for red, 255 for blue. Save it. There's our, well, it looks like pink, but there's purple. So if you know what color you're going for, let's do a low grade greenish blue. Something fun like that. Come in here. There's our color. Come back into color. What do we want our font to be? This is going to be like tan, right? Let's go mostly white, but we'll do some, we got to take out the blue. So let's say FF, DD, and we'll say 33, something like that. No, I need that to be higher. I need this to be more like AA. There we go. There's like a tan. Any questions about the colors? No? Is that medium? Say extra large. That didn't do it. Doesn't like it. Size. Oh well, let's keep going. What are we building here? We got columns. They do have the card header. We'll do CYP card header. Okay, and so we're going to say margin, top, margin. Yes, 0px. Actually, since we need to set the top, right, and left, we'll just do margin, right? Top, right, bottom. So let's say 0px, 0px. Let's give this a little padding. Say 0.5 rem and 0px. All right, and so we've got color, background color right here. I'm going to take this, we're going to go slightly darker with it. So we'll take this, we'll go 1, 0, take this, we'll go 8, 8, and we'll go alpha 0. And so we've got the card, div, class, CYP, card header. This is a card header. Trying to regain my train of thought. We want padding. Let's give it like 2px. Padding 2px. And then since card header is inside card, Does this, hey, look at that, it did work. But that padding is still there, the margin, padding to 5 REM. Okay, when you get stuck, that's not what I wanted to do. When you get stuck, it's good to view the page source because sometimes what you're thinking is just a red herring and something else is card header. So look at the card header. I want the computed. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing right here. Computed right here. Padding 2. Border margin. So if I go up to this guy right here, got this padding 4. It's the padding 4 from the card that's doing it, not the margin. So 0.25. That's padding should have been applied in here. Let's re-render it. There we go. But you see this guy right here isn't rounded anymore. So we got to put the same border radius on. Keep doing that. Yeah, but I don't want border radius on the bottom. So border radius 8px. Top right. So it's, I forget how this one works. It's like top left, top right, left, bottom right, something like that. It's 8px, 0px, 0px. We'll try that. We'll see what's what. Top left, top right. This is good. This is good. So that's good. CYP card body. Right here. Now we want this padding again. Padding. Say 10px. So that's the card header. Class equals card body. This has got some space now. Pretty rough. It's pretty rough doing this with no feedback, be honest. Feel like I'm coding for nothing. Honestly, though, this is CSS. This is how CSS works, and it's important that you know CSS to an extent without using Bootstrap, just because sometimes, or Bootstrap, Bulma, whatever you use, Kendo uses it. Um, it's all going to be different, and depending on where you, even though, like I was showing you right here, all basically do it the same. There's gonna be differences, and you're gonna have to know how to make some things work. Keep doing it, I guess. What do we have here? All right, let's do some little helpers that I like, right? Bootstrap doesn't have these, but you want to make a picture button, right? Um, there's a philosophy that's, if you're constantly putting multiple classes together, you should instead make a class that's a combination of those classes. But sometimes it's good just to have those classes. Um, one such class is changing the cursor to a pointer. And in style, it's super, super easy. We'll say CYP pointer, right? It's what you're gonna name it, right? And it's always just cursor pointer. I'm gonna show you. Let's make a div. Um, all right, we're gonna want some margin now. CYP margin. No, we're gonna say MT2, and this is 0.5 REM. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Margin top 0.5 REM. So we're gonna say CYP MT-2 after I write class and put it in there. We're going to give it a div class CYP row. Um, yeah, we're going to do a div. I'm going to do a div, and we're going to say a CYP. I'm going to say picture button, but it's not picture button. We're going to give this a fixed size, right? So height 100 px, width it's square 100 px. Um, we're not going to round the edges. We are going to give it a border though. We're going to say border 1 px solid black. Um, and we're going to say margin auto. So right there, we'll say button, and we're going to say this is a CYP class CYP picture button. Gotta save it all. Come in here. Well, maybe that's what I need to do. Fine. Hot reload. Oh, it's there, right there. Okay. See, I got this picture button right here. Doesn't look like it does anything, but I want it to be able to be a button. I just add CYP pointer. Now it looks like I can click it. Those are gonna help a lot. Um, that's why CYP shadow, box shadow, RGBA. This one's not going to be black. This one's going to be, you know what? I'm going to use this color that we used before. But we're going to go 0.5. And then, yeah, we'll keep it. We'll keep it 5.3. So on the button, we're also going to add CYP shadow. That didn't work. There we go. I don't like this. This one's not so good. I'm gonna pop this CSS out. All right, so let's say a 0 and 0 for the offset. Nope, that's not what I want. Oh, that's what I want right there. That's too much. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Something like that. Looks like it sticks up a little bit. Black border. I don't like black anymore. Do this border radius too. Border radius 2px, just slight. 4px. Good. Okay. That's why this margin isn't working good. Because it's for that, which is not actually what I wanted. So, CYP picture button div. Stick that in there. So, if I stick this button now inside of a div, margin auto. Yeah, sometimes just don't know what's stopping it. Margin. Uh, there we go. That's what I was missing. That's what I wanted. Now the content inside the quote unquote picture button is centered. I had to make the button itself display flex and put the margin inside of it. And I apply the class, I apply this, I apply the additional style to the first div within this class. That's what that means. Alex, you got any questions? Are you there? No? It's a start. Where do we go? We can get into inputs and forms, and the idea is that I'm thinking about opening up some of these projects and letting some of the community commit to the projects and go through some pull requests and learn how that piece works with it. And, if you've got any ideas on like what you want to do as far as, hey, how can we code this piece in this project because it'd be interesting for me to learn how to do that. Please let me know. We'll keep the GitHub live and going and keep adding these different streams to that GitHub. But as it stands now, I don't have a lot of feedback, so hopefully video one can get a little traction. So I'm gonna try to do maybe one more thing. Um, let's do some buttons, some real buttons. Go into, we'll say got a row here, mt2, um, div, cyp, nope, class, cyp, mt2. All right, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna do another CYP row, but I want to make this a footer row. No, I'll do a card footer. That's what I'm gonna do. Card footer. And I took off the quote. So because of that, we're not gonna do this. So we're gonna say span. This is a footer. Footer. Come back into the CSS. Right there. Dot CYP card footer should be, it's in the body. We don't want it in the body. We want it outside the body. So relative bottom 0, left 0. Hopefully this works, because guess in here. Yep, that is right. I did it. I did it. Okay, so relative is usually relative to the parent that it's in. Since it is in the parent of card, it should be at the bottom left of the card. That's why I did that. So back into the card footer. Now we're going to say its width is 100%. Background. No, we're gonna do a border top. So border top, bottom. So we're gonna say 1px, 0px, 0px, 0px. Solid blank. Does that, am I doing that right? Or is it border top? It is border top. I don't know what I was thinking, guys. There we go. I don't want white. I want this tan color. FBDA. That's the color I want. Now in here, I can give it a little padding. Let's say 10px. That's the footer. Um, Now I'm going to say I'm gonna give it two things, right? So I'm gonna CYP card footer, CYP uh, card footer content. And we're gonna say, no, I don't want card footer content. Let's say buttons. And this is going to be margin left auto. And then we're gonna say uh, space between. So let's try this. Card footer buttons. All right, div class CYP card footer buttons. All right, now we're gonna have button. I'm gonna say type button and button one and button two. I'm gonna go ahead and put a class area on it, even though we don't have a class yet. That's not what I wanted. Card footer buttons. Says div. Card footer. Ah, okay, that's what the problem was. Hopefully I don't ruin display. Relax. Here we go. That's what I wanted right there. So if you wanted everything to be just kind of neatly aligned, there you go. You got the footer right there, and you could have footer buttons, which is, like this could be cancel with a B cancel, and confirm. Well, got to do that still. Cancel and confirm. Everything is real time. You can see me making mistakes. This is, I don't know, a single developer that just boom gets it right, like in a tutorial. You can be as proficient as you want. It's not going to happen. I would probably it's already I don't know. I'm trying to talk to you future viewers as if you were in that category that I described at the beginning of the stream, which is you got that foundation, you maybe got your first job, you may be trying to get your first job, but you're still green, you're still new. Um, it's really hard to know where you stand because you only know what you know. I think I'm probably upper middle, but not quite senior yet. I don't know. do what I do. I've been coding for about 8 years, and you get really obsessed with it. So let's make primary and a cancel button. Let's call it a cancel button instead of secondary or anything like that. It's our custom CSS. That's the point. We can call it whatever we want, and this is what it looks like. You can give it regions even, and you can say, wait, regions do work here, I believe. No, I don't remember how it works in CSS. I'll be honest. I don't. Buttons. All right, and so we'll say CYP primary. BTN. We'll keep with bootstrap naming. Button primary. And we're going to say that this background color is in the same, where is it? I want to look at what we got here. I want it to be this color but darker. So in the card header, background color right there, we're going to make it even darker, and that's going to be your primary. Right? So we can call this what is half of 1, 0? Trick question. 0, 8. We'll call this a 6x, and we'll call this a 90. So CYP button primary. We'll apply this class here, and we're going to call this one button cancel. Did I not save the sign? I did. CYP button primary. Yeah, I'll re-render it. There we go. It's absolutely awful. Gonna keep with the color, which, like at this point, right? I keep putting the same color deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And honestly, everything's got it now. And I can override from the body. So let's find this everywhere that I got it. Oh, that's it. Where and how to begin coding? Well, where and how to begin coding? I think that that's a personal question that we all have, right? I think that it all ends up being, why do you want to code? Um, if you're like, I want to code because I want to get a job coding, then you got to think about what that future job in coding looks like. If you say, I want to learn how to code because I want to make a mobile video game, then that kind of changes the path you should probably take. I think that it's a question that's personal for everybody, and there's no real right answer. You gotta know why you want to code and what you're going to code for, and start there. I I downloaded Visual Studio before I looked at the tutorial or anything. I fumbled around in Visual Studio and then I started looking up some YouTubes with no sound, and then I started getting into developer docs and just keeps going. Buttons are fun because there are events in buttons. Let's give this a border real quick. Border 1px. We're going to give this the same as that color FFDDAA. Well, I got to do solid first. Solid FFDDAA. And then we're going to do a slight shadow. But what I want on this box shadow, I'm going to just write black 0px, 0px, 2px, 2px. Nope. Yeah, I like that. Just for fun. I mean, I wouldn't release this. Just for funsies. I like that because I know what the next thing I'm going to do, right? Um, as you can see, because it is a button, it automatically gets the cursor pointer. I didn't actually put cursor pointer on there. It just automatically gets it because it is class button of type button, and it is a HTML element of button. So right here, I can say CYP button primary. You can see all the different events here, right? Active, after, before, checked, all of them. Focus. So do hover. We're going to change this box shadow actually. We're going to give this a FFDDAA. Don't know why I did that. If I keep it at that and go a 0.5. That didn't work. I always forget all these. What did you say is most difficult part of it? Most difficult part about coding. Actually, to use a reference I used just last week, um, you're trying to learn concepts, and the definitions of the concepts you're trying to learn are also foreign. And so it would be like, it is literally like learning a new language, right? Like you can hear a word and imagine if the only definition of the word was in that other language. And so you had to continue to look up the words defining the words of that language to understand it. Honestly, like there's a few hurdles when it comes to coding. The first hurdle is just having that fundamental. Like I understand what a class is. I understand what a struct is. I understand memory allocation to the point that I know that I need to dispose of items or there's simple things. And then there's the how does it all tie together aspect of it. And that's the real first hurdle, I believe, right? Because everything is kind of overwhelming at first as far as, I've introduced this button, and when I first was like, oh, I put a button on the screen. Now why isn't it clicking? Like that's the first hurdle, is understanding that code is really stupid. It You got to do a lot to make a little happen. Um, so code is really stupid. And then you start to learn, okay, well, I have to wire up an event listener or, on click method or however it works, right? You got to wire that up. And then you can put the logic inside that method. So you get to that point, and then it's like, okay, well, now how do I send data from the client to the server, right? Well, oh, now I've got to build this whole new application just to receive it from the server. It becomes very overwhelming. But like once you get past that step, right? That whole this piece talks to this piece through this piece, and this piece talks to this piece. Once you get past that step, it starts to become more about how can I work with other people. That's another hurdle that you end up working with. It's because it's like, well, I'm written in C sharp. How can I work with PHP? I'm written in, JavaScript. How can I work with, uh, I don't know, you know, something .NET, runtime code versus compile time code. So you end up getting these different hurdles, and every time it feels like maybe you hit a wall, maybe you're done growing, and then you get over that wall, and everything ends up being easier. New concepts end up being easier. So the most difficult part about coding isn't the coding, it's the mental resolve it takes to continue coding. Because you're going to tell yourself that you're too dumb to code way more often than you think. Each hurdle is you don't hit the hurdles for long, right? The hurdles are a couple of weeks. You get over the hurdle and then you plateau. And then you get over the next hurdle and then you kind of plateau. And so you've got to just keep going after those hurdles. But 2 weeks feels like an eternity when you're struggling. CYP button cancel. I guess I wanted to get that. Let's cheat here. Let's see how Bootstrap does it. It's minimal. Let's say BTN. Actually, wasn't in there. This app CSS, we've got some overrides. Button focus, active focus. Maybe that's what I need. Focus and active focus. I wasn't doing that. Focus and active focus. Is that how that was written? Active focus, yes. Yeah, not doing that right. Maybe that's what I was doing wrong. BTN primary, and then we'll clean this up down here. Yeah, criminy. Not doing this right. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. I want it to be bigger though. Zero point 0.5. I was wrong. Maybe not. Maybe this is the number I wanted bigger. No, that number's not doing anything. Oh, that's great. That's decent UI if you can see that you clicked it and you let go and it's still the same, and then you click away and it's neutral again. That's active. I've got my clicker pushed down. It's still being held down. Let go. It's not active, but it's still in focus. Now it's not in focus. So that's good. Hey, sometimes I can do something. Let's do the inverse of that. We're gonna, yeah, we're gonna be lame. We're gonna just, oops, do the inverse, and we're just gonna go like this. X, V. I don't need more margin in between these. I call programmers glorified copy pasters. Glorified copy pasters, because that's what I am. Nah, I don't like it. Let's go. Let's go dark gray instead of black. What is a dark gray? It would be like a 3, 3, 3. 3, 3, 3. Hmm. Box channel. I don't like it. It's not. Needs more. Nah, I don't like that either. Um. Maybe it's just too dark. Maybe that's it. Okay, we'll go back to that. 2, 4. It's not enough. Should have made it blue. That's what we should have done. We should have cancel button, confirm background color. Oh yeah, that's better. That's what I should have done the whole time. There. What do you guys think? Custom CSS. Alrighty. Yeah, it's been over an hour. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna check this code in. If you're interested, you'll be able to find it. We're just gonna say first live stream progress. All right, we're gonna push it. That's not how I would do it. I only do that because I know I'm the only one here, but I always check to make sure there's nothing before I push. You don't want to push code and then go, oh man, I should have rebased first, or I should have, merged from main first, or it's, I don't know. You want to be conscious of what's going on in source. Also, don't just use one branch, but this is, we'll start like this. That's it. I'm gonna close out. Hopefully, you guys learned something. If you think that this is educational, please tell your friends. Post on the video. So is coding kind of just getting your script and then just plugging numbers in it? Absolutely not. Um, is coding kind of just, no, there's no, you know, if I were to compare it to, say, if I was coding a kitchen, right? It's the same thing. You gotta say, okay, here's the layout I want to have. Now what's going to work best for this layout? And you gotta pick maybe a framework, or you have constraints that you got to work within. And you say, okay, I'm going to put cabinets on this wall, and and you got to figure all of that out. There's no plugging in script. You can't pre-write script for this. Um, but what I'm doing right here with CSS, what that's doing is that's saying, okay, this is the color palette, this is the design of the doors, this is the hardware I'm going to use, this is the countertops I'm picking out. Um, but that still doesn't say what's inside the cabinets. That doesn't say what the plumbing is like under the sink. That doesn't say anything that's inside the walls or the electrical outlets or none of that, right? So that's just the paint on the walls. That's all we were looking at was the paint on the walls. Everything else that is functionality, that's logical code that comes later. That's not in the CSS. CSS and HTML, I have a hard time separating because HTML is you don't want to just a HTML file with a whole bunch of styles, but you could. So you don't need HTML with CSS, but CSS is pointless without HTML. Did that kind of answer your question? I don't know what I did. Oh, that's what I did. All right, I'm gonna call it for this live stream. Um, Tell your friends if you think you learned something good, or if you think they can learn something good, if they're interested in it. If they have anything, comment on this video. If you've got any questions or suggestions for the next stream, uh, probably going to move these to Wednesdays. So be on the lookout for that.